We start with the situation in the U.S. state of Georgia, where around 300 Korean workers were arrested last week at a Hyundai LG Energy battery plant site. They were expected to come home within the next day, but their departure has suddenly been delayed. We have our foreign affairs correspondent Oh Soo-young here in studio. Welcome, Sooyoung.
Great to join you again, Tammy.
So, Sooyoung, the detainees were supposed to come home within the next 24 hours, but obviously there have been some problems.
Yes, it was a very abrupt announcement by the Foreign Ministry this very afternoon, where they said that the 300 or so South Koreans detained in the Georgia Immigration Detention Center will not be able to depart by chartered flight on Wednesday local time. Now, this is due to what the ministry described as circumstances on the US side. I spoke to an official who indicated that South Korea, that is the government, companies and the chartered airline, were in full preparation for a Wednesday departure. Local reports even indicate that the companies were helping the detainees ship their luggages to Korea separately. So for a reason that is currently unknown and undisclosed to us right now, it seems that the United States is stalling the process. The ministry says negotiations are ongoing, but given that it's still very early in the morning over there, it seems the issue will unlikely be resolved before Foreign Minister Choi-hyun and Secretary of State Marco Rubio meet. However, even if the two officials resolve to release the detainees as soon as possible, it seems it's going to be quite difficult to determine when exactly the next flight can be arranged, as it obviously takes logistical preparation for the airline company, which has to follow certain aviation safety standards and procedures.
Right, so the good news is that Foreign Minister Choi-hyun is in the U.S. to get things moving swiftly, and he'll meet with Rubio on Wednesday, right, not Tuesday?
That's right. On Wednesday, Foreign Minister Choi-hyun is going to meet with Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the White House. And before departing for D.C. on Monday, Choi said that he's going to ensure the Korean detainees do not face disadvantages, such as entry bans upon future visits to the U.S. And beyond the immediate issues at hand, the minister also said he's going to try to turn this crisis into an opportunity to improve U.S. visa tracks for Korean firms. Now, it's an issue that President Lee Jae-myung has raised for the sustainability of Korean investment in America and their economic partnership. Before his sit-down with Rubio, Choi on Tuesday held a roundtable in D.C. with representatives from LG, Hyundai, Samsung, POSCO, SK, among other Korean firms, to hear their concerns. And, well, companies are calling for two main visa tracks. First, a new E4 visa quota under the long-sought Partner with Korea Act, which would allow up to 15,000 skilled Korean professionals to work in the US each year. Now, this legislation was actually introduced in 2013 after the Korea-US FTA took effect in 2011, but the act hasn't gotten enough traction to pass through Congress until now. So that's what they want to see done. And second, Korean firms would like higher approval rates for E2 visas on jobs created through foreign investment. Now, this would pertain to staff employed by Korean-invested plants in the US. By comparison, other countries who have FTAs with the US, they have dedicated visa tracks. Canada and Mexico, for instance, they enjoy unlimited non-immigrant professional visas under the North Korea FTA. Australia, meanwhile, has over 10,000 annual E3 visas, while Singapore and Chile, they've secured hundreds of short-term working visas through trade agreements. So Korea, on the other hand, obviously there's a big contrast there. It has none of such dedicated visa tracks. And experts say that the Trump administration must recognize that structural support for Korean professionals is absolutely necessary in order to build America's long-term capacity in key sectors.
Industries like battery manufacturing and shipbuilding require highly specialized skills that cannot be transferred through short-term training alone. If foreign experts are allowed only as trainers, as not as part of the core workforce, companies may face productivity gaps that delay factory completion. It may also slow investment returns and disrupt the U.S. electric vehicle supply chain.
So if I'm not wrong, it looks like the White House has also acknowledged that it needs to, comprehensively address this issue, right?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So it was initially quite unclear, and it still remains quite uncertain how different US agencies were coordinating on the issue. And the immigration authorities that conducted the raid, for instance, Georgia state authorities, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Commerce Department, all different players, right? So on Tuesday, the White House press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, reiterated President Donald Trump's remarks from a few days earlier, saying that he appreciates foreign investment in the US, particularly in specialized sectors like semiconductors and batteries, but he's putting an emphasis on American jobs.
And so he expects these foreign companies to hire American labor. We want Americans to have these jobs. Americans need these jobs. But he also understands the need for these companies to bring over their workers who already have these skills.
She said the Department of Homeland Security and Commerce are coordinating on this under Trump's quote-unquote nuanced, responsible and sensible approach. Now, this response comes in light of global media reports and concerns raised over how the recent raid could compromise the $12.6 billion South Korean investment in the state of Georgia. Now, we're going to have to see what Cho and Rubio discuss and the outcome of their talks on Wednesday, but the stakes are incredibly high for both countries. Without providing structural administrative support for Korean professionals and firms in key industrial sectors, it's really hard to see investment in America as a feasible option, not only for Korean companies, but all global businesses.
Indeed, let's hope to see this crisis turn into an opportunity, like the minister Cho-hyun said, and we also hope to see the swift return of Korean nationals arrested in the U.S., right?
That's right, Tammy.
All right, Sooyoung, thank you so much for your report, as always.
Thanks for having me.